Raise your voices, raise your glass high. Welcome to the Drink O'Clock Podcast. Let's dive. Oh, grab an old fashioned and join the fray. Raise your spirits, let the music play. From the corner pub to the dance hall floor. Drink O'Clock Podcast, we're ready for more.
I got to tell you, man, it is nice having a 5-day weekend. So at my job, I hit 11 years, so I earned an extra week. So I'm at the coveted 4 weeks vacation, and I'm trying to figure out what to do with it all because I'm not used to it. So I'm like kind of just taking 2 days here and partnering it up with a holiday and getting that extra space. Which is nice. But anyway, I digress. This is the Drink O'Clock Podcast. I am your host, Rob Valencius, and I have the pleasure of having a best-selling, award-winning author and inspirational speaker, Aaron Ryan, with me today. Man, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to be here. May I take a drink for the Drink O'Clock?
Yeah.
Start with the Country Time Lemonade.
Cheers it up, man. Like I said before we hit record, you get a special version of me since I'm on vacay.
Sounds good. I'll be naturally curious what the other version is, but maybe we can talk about that later.
I'll tell you. So when I first started this podcast, and my listeners are probably like, we've heard this story. I would start the show with taking a fireball, and then I would, towards the middle of the show, take another shot of fireball while I'm drinking an old fashioned. So by the time I'd get to the end, and this is when I didn't have a limit. So I feel like people don't have an attention span, so I stick to 45 minutes to an hour. But this was back when I would go 2.5 hours sometimes. And by the 2-hour mark, I was funny to listen to. We'll say that. So I try not to do that. Plus, too, I'll be 40 this year. I feel like I should start to give my liver a little bit of a break, you know?
Yeah. I've never been there really. I mean, like the whole fireball, I've heard of it. Have I ever had a fireball? I don't know, unless I was slipped something at a party, but that would probably necessitate me going to parties, which I don't. So. Probably I've never had one.
I feel that.
Catch-22.
I feel that. So, look, man, let's start with the beginning here. Talk to me about growing up. I always love to hear the stories of the authors that I interview. So, hit me with your quick intro of where did you grow up and what got you into the creative side of things.
Yeah, well, I think I was conceived in August of 1970. No, I'm kidding. That's probably going back a little too far. Boy, we grew up it's not exactly Hicktown, but I grew up in a very small town. It was a little bit of a dell outside North Bend, Washington. Snoqualmie, Washington is probably a little bit better known.
Okay.
And 2 brothers. One of them is a fraternal twin. That means he doesn't look like me, poor guy. But grew up in a fairly standard, I think, normal, common, typical home. I've always been right-brained, so creativity just runs running through the arteries and veins. Always wanted to do things creative, so I had no idea about this like 50 years later. But my mom sent me an article of me in a young authors club when I was 10 years old. Completely forgot about that, and it was like all the memories come rushing back. I was like, oh my gosh! But Mrs. Walker in second grade gave me an assignment. Everybody an assignment. Hi, Mrs. Walker. And to write a little novella. And I did. Everybody else did. And I just remember holding it in my hands when I was just, all of 7 years old and went, oh my gosh, look at this. Turn it around. Look what I made. And so those are 2 real formative beginning stories that just say, man, I was supposed to be an author from the very beginning. I love telling stories. Every major vocation I've had has been about telling stories. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I know I talked about it on my show before, but there was a class I'll never forget, and I didn't think I was going to like it. I took a creative writing class when I was I think I was a freshman in high school, and I didn't think I was going to like it. And our teacher gave us this assignment of, I don't remember the specifics, but it was kind of just like write a short story or write a story. So I started, and we each all got the old school vanilla with lines. Like she handed those
Yeah.
out to everybody, and that's what you use to hand in when you're handing in assignments. Not like today where everyone's got a freaking iPad, but. So I remember I got really into writing the story, and it was a I think it was a hard or scary style story that had to do with like a mummy. And I'll never forget, I turned it in for the assignment, and I forget what happened, but my teacher at one point was like, "Hey, are you ever going to finish that story? I'd like to know the ending." And I was like, "Huh. Maybe I'm kind of good at this." I've always been on the creative side, like to drawing. I have a very
Yeah.
large imagination. So, but I'll never
You
forget
have
that.
to.
It's wild when you're dealing with kids. Just those little things that, your teacher, my teacher, that you remember 20, 30 years later after the fact.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think that was one of the things that was like a creative spark. I got a creative spark from Mrs. Walker for sure. I got a creative spark from J.R.R. Tolkien early on. That was for sure. That is the one author that really inspired me to become an author. I didn't get it from my mom, although she is the more creative of the two parents. Case in point, well, I don't remember how old I was, but I asked her. I loved to draw when I was a kid, and so yeah, I would draw spaceships and robots and all the typical, young boy fare. And I said, Mom, draw a spaceship. I want to see what you can draw. And so, like, I'm not kidding. She drew what turned out to be ultimately a metal rhinoceros in space. And we joke about that to this day that, perhaps you're a little bit more left brain, Mom. Uh, because, yeah, it's those things aren't aerial, really. I mean, not that I know of. And Dad is more of Dad's right brain, but kind of goofy. Maybe I'm getting it backwards. Maybe mom is a little bit more left brain, and that would explain the rhinoceros. Dad is more like the right brain, goofy kind of guy. But the creative side, I think, came from more like external sources than home brewed. So to use an analogy from Drink O'Clock.
I like it. I like it. Now you wore a number of hats in your life,
Yeah.
paperboy, worship leader, rock artist, voiceover, author. You know, Tell me, do you think that there's maybe a line that connects a lot of those things?
No, Um, ultimately, no, not really. I mean, the vocations that I've had, yes. The positions that I've had that have been, managerial or in some kind of authority over, like you have the ability to hire and fire. Those have taught me a lot of valuable tips and practices about business acumen, for sure. Paperboy, I mean, yes, you have to manage different clients. You have to manage tips if you
It's
get
true.
any. You have to manage, gosh, you have to manage all kinds of different,
Routes, your
uh,
routes.
yeah, your routes and keeping papers nice and dry and all of that stuff. But but I think just later in life, I just learned so much from different careers as far as how to run a business, and that is one of the things that I really am very grateful for and share with people, other authors, that if you really want to be a successful author, look at yourself more as a businessman who just happens to write books. um, it's a different mentality. I'm a voiceover artist. You can see the studio back there, and I'm a businessman who just happens to do voiceovers. If I treat it like that, then my hobby is going to go a lot farther because I put it on a vehicle to take it somewhere.
Yeah, that's a nice little office back there, man. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Um,
It's where I work the VO magic.
yeah, I mean, look, the one thing that I've always thought about doing is the voiceover stuff because I think it's fun. I actually had someone on my show. What's it called? Where it's not a voiceover artist, but they create the sounds for like cartoons and movies and shit like that. Um,
It's like a post production audio engineer, something like that.
well, no, I mean it like if you're watching SpongeBob, they actually create if it sounds like it's a cheese frying, it's not actually cheese frying. It's like something. It's like an instrument they're using, or like. Oh man, that's gonna drive me
Uh,
nuts. What it's called? It's an interesting. It's like a weird word that you would like normal people wouldn't know. But um, and I've had a couple voice actors on the show as well, and they talk a lot about just being in the craft and honing in on your characters. And sometimes, as a business owner, right, when you're on your own. So when you're
Yeah.
doing the voiceover stuff, it's the same concept, right? They give you a script and they kind of tell you what you want it to be, but you're on your own, to use that left brain of yours to be creative with the character. And do you feel like the voiceover stuff has also kind of helped you with your writing as well in terms of being creative and
Yeah, well, they're both storytelling. I mean, voiceovers, you get to tell someone else's story, be their storyteller. As an author, I get to tell my own stories, and I greatly prefer that. But yeah, it is a creative pursuit, and they're both are bringing a story to life. I think that with voiceovers, man, so much of my work is just done completely isolated. I'm in a studio talking to myself all day, or I'm sitting here talking to characters that don't exist all day. So it's a very paranoid, schizophrenic career path for both of them. But it's so enjoyable because I get to create either way. Less so with voiceovers because the script's already locked. Um, but it's just, both of them teach you how to bring something ex nihilo, like something out of nothing. And you have to bring a script to life, their script. You have to bring a story to life, your story. And it both take a little bit of like acting and creative finesse in either case. They're both a blast to do.
now. How long have you been writing? Because you have 44 published books. That's a pretty large number of books.
It's actually 51
Oh,
now, or 50. Sorry. Um, I'm working on book 51. Yeah, I did three more children's books, and then an omnibus that went with that. So there's four more, and then I published a memoir of my wife and I, kind of our dating story, how neither one of us really felt worthy of love. It's a sweet story, and so that one, and then I just published a horror novel just this past Monday on my birthday.
oh,
So
nice.
that
Happy belated.
pivoted me to thank you so much. Put me up at 50. I started though back honestly with Mrs. Walker and that second grade assignment in 1981. I took a sabbatical. I mean, tried all kinds of creative avenues for years and years and years, and came back to it in the early 90s. But yeah, I've been writing for a while, just in various forms. But I love writing.
Yeah. So what's your now? I've interviewed a lot of authors, and I love to hear about the creative process. What's your process like? I've dealt with people who have to sit in a bar and talk to people and be around people, and then I've dealt with authors that have to go. Like I dealt with an author. She's like, all right. She told her husband, I'm gonna go away. She went to a hotel and she stayed in a hotel for like 3 weeks alone
Yeah.
to write. What's your style like when you're writing?
Yeah, I don't think I have anything like that. I love Lance Henriksen from the movie Aliens. I don't know if you can see a picture back there. Aliens is my favorite movie of all time. But Lance Henriksen has this process he calls gathering. So as he prepares for a role, he goes around and he does this thing called gathering, where he's like, gathers, for lack of a better word, all these things he's going to need to assimilate into his character. That strikes me as a different style of writing from mine. There's two notable, traditionally known styles. One is a pantser. They fly by the seat of their pants. It's very organic storytelling.
That's good. I like
And
that. I
then
like that one.
that's totally me. I'm a total pantser. And then there's a planner, and that's more like Lance Henriksen, the gathering style with bullet points and flow charts and index cards and lots of research. I like to just kind of tell a story and see where it goes. And there's a lot of pantsers out there that actually write really, really good books because, yeah, you can wind up somewhere you didn't intend to go, and you can always control Z your way out of there. Okay, that didn't work, and then go this way. Oh, sorry, and then redirect. Um, but I typically do it during the 9 to 5. I've got a 10 and 6 year old son who need their daddy, and their daddy needs them. So after work, I'm a family man. So I'll write during the day.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I mean, look, I guess it makes sense. All right. So, real quick before let's digress a little bit. Favorite alien movie, and I'll let you also include the new stuff.
Every day of the week and twice on Sunday, Aliens. James Cameron's 1986 Aliens. Shortly behind that, or I don't know if I was shortly, but The next one after that would be Alien, and then the next one after that would be Alien 3. Alien 3 really is an acquired taste. I cannot stand the beginning. It completely undoes the last third act of Aliens.
Yeah.
And you don't really care about the characters. I don't. I kind of liked being back in Alien Land with Romulus, but there are so many cringeworthy tips of the hat to the other movies in the series, and it was like, man, do you got a leg to stand on of your own? What are you doing?
Yeah. I just
I
saw
can't stand
Romulus.
Resurrection.
I just saw Romulus maybe 6 months ago.
Yeah,
It was good. I mean, I like the. I'm one of those people. I enjoy the backstory of things.
yeah, me too.
So like I know everyone hates Star Wars the original, not the original trilogy, but one,
The
2, and
prequels.
3. Yes. However, and I've talked about this before as well. I'm a Star Wars guy. Star Wars is probably my all-time favorite like sci-fi world.
Yeah,
You got to watch Star Wars 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, and it makes the movies so much better from a backstory perspective. You care a lot more when Darth Vader dies. Which, spoiler here, if you haven't watched Star Wars, come on, man.
wait, what? Okay.
But that's the
No,
that's the
totally
appropriate
correct.
way to watch the movies.
I do not like 1. I think 2 is just extreme torture and punishment. I cannot stand Attack of the Clones. But I actually really enjoy Revenge of the Sith because I love the Star Wars, the Darth Vader turn as he's seduced to the dark side by Emperor Palpatine,
Yep.
and all of the different missteps that he takes and the temptations that he falls prey to via or vis-a-vis, I guess would be the expression, Palpatine laying those traps for him.
Yeah.
I love that change. It's very dark, and you can never get the little kids out of your head, the younglings, and him slaying those poor little kids with his lightsaber at the end. But that's Darth Vader. That's true to form of who Darth Vader was.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite genres of writing is the anti-hero, because there's just something not necessarily fun, but there's just something about watching a good person or a good character and seeing their downfall. Because you watched him when he was a little kid, and then you watched him up until the point where he dons the mask. And
Right.
there's something very human, because we can all decide to make those wrong choices, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
become something that we're not. And it's cool. In the Star Wars realm, there's a trilogy that I don't think is canon anymore ever since Disney bought it. But Darth Bane was a trilogy series. It was really, really good. The book Darth Plagueis, which I think is canon in Star Wars, is really, really good because you actually get a lot of background on, the Palpatine and the Senate and Darth Maul and all the things he was doing to try to stay alive forever. And it's a really, really good tie-in book if you're watching the original series. Have you read that?
I have not, but it sounds good.
It
does sound good.
It's really good. I was trying to think if there's any others in this series, but everything's not canon anymore ever since Disney bought it, which,
Right.
they released. I just saw a thing, and I don't know if you follow Star Wars news, but they're going to re-release Star Wars movies, and they're just going to pretend like the 3 that they just released never existed. It's not part of the universe anymore.
Oh, 7, 8, 9?
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm not a fan of 8, and 9 was okay. I have to just say full disclosure, and I thought 7 was pretty good, although there was seriously just a lack of creativity. Oh, okay, big planet killing orb in the sky. Huh? We haven't seen that before.
Yeah.
Got to navigate down a trench. Oh, haven't seen that before. And so there's a lot of repetition there. But my favorite character in the entire Star Wars canon is Palpatine. And so to see him come back, it's a stretch, sure. But I mean, you throw the guy down a shaft on the Death Star, and you don't exactly see him die. There's room for Palpatine to come back, especially since he's recounting that story to Anakin with that space opera. of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Yep.
And, he could keep the ones that he loved from dying. So for him to bring himself back it didn't strain credulity really too much, but it was also like, is this the way to go? I don't know if this is the way to go. All right, whatever. I'll just take it. See,
I was with you. I was okay with 7 because they were set. It's like the setup movie. I was
you're
okay.
back.
I was cool with that. I mean, it wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst. And the wifey sits behind the green screen, and I know she's probably gonna make a face. When we went to see 8, which I have to drag her to these. This isn't necessarily her thing. I made her watch all the originals. Thankfully, I love her to death. I made her watch all the originals in my order, and she liked parts of it. Right? She liked the Jawas and like the cute Ewoks. And we have 2 dogs, and they're basically they look like Ewoks. They're Brussels Griffins. So, but when I saw 8, I wanted to never be a Star Wars fan again. I was so irritated. Like, that's how mad I was. I'm walking in the theater. I'm like, they just got rid of everything that they did. I don't understand. And then we saw 9, and I was in the same boat as you. It was like, it's all right. I see it was such a bit of a stretch, but apparently, I guess the merchandise and things and all that from 7, 8, and 9, even though it was $1 billion, it wasn't what it could have been or should have been. So they're gonna, I think, just completely. I think because the head Disney lady is gone, and she did a lot of random. She made a lot of just iffy decisions in the Star Wars universe. So I think they're gonna just try to reset, which I'm cool with.
Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy, I think is who it was.
Yeah.
So as I'm watching Star Wars, it was a foregone conclusion that Han was going to die. I knew that was going to happen, and he'd been petitioning for that all the way back to the original series. But what I do love is, and particularly in 3, or I guess it would be 9, is here come all of these ships out of light speed, and they're going to take on the Emperor's new fleet, and there's all of these planet killing Death Star destroyers, and like, okay, whatever, that's too much firepower for me. But all of a sudden, here comes one ship into view, and you instantly know who that pilot is. Not Lando. I mean, Lando, he's recognizable.
Yeah.
But I saw it and I went, Wedge Antilles. I said, that's Wedge. And it's those little payoffs that feel so good that bring you back to the original full circle. But I have to say too, much as I love Star Wars, rings. So Tolkien is who inspired me to become an author. This is not the One Ring. I just want to clarify. See, I'm still here. But I love Lord of the Rings, and on the same tone. It's good to be back in the Star Wars universe when you watch 7, 8, and 9, or Mandalorian or whatever.
Yeah.
Rings of Power. Kind of good to be back in the Lord of the Rings universe, but also so many gross violations of canon there. It's unforgivable.
Yeah, so I haven't watched the movies in a long time. It's probably been 20-ish years since I've watched the movies.
It's about when they came out.
Yeah. And I never read the books, which I probably should. I'm a big time audiobooker, so I think I at some point want to maybe get back into it. It's tough with books like Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings to listen to because there's so many names that are similar that it's tough. You might be listening to it and they'll say a character like, oh, and then they go to another character like, oh, I thought that's who that was. And then it's different because you're listening to it and not reading it on paper.
Yeah.
But it also depends on who's reading the audiobook too, because some audiobooks, I will actually enjoy an audiobook more based on some of the guys that read it. And just how they read it compared to some of the monotone people,
Right. Well, as a voice actor and an author, I get that crossover and I enjoy it. So I hate doing audiobooks. They take way too long and they pay way too little. The market is oversaturated with narrators. And now when you cast, I made this mistake. Of course, an author, I cast I put a job posting up on ACX for my recent horror novel, which is a female protagonist. I'm not going to try to narrate that. I don't sound anything like a female. So I cast it, and the person I cast turns out to be an AI narrator. And I'm like, your audition sounded human. It sounded good. That's why I cast you. I feel betrayed. And now I got to back out all this and cancel everything and then start again. But I love narrating my own when they're mine and it's a male protagonist, I had a 14-year-old boy as a main protagonist of a previous book. Wasn't going to do that one either, so I cast a friend from church, family friend from church, to do that one. But I love narrating them, and when I tell people that I'm an author, and they go, not much of a reader. Do you got them on audio? Yes, I do. Wait, are you the narrator? Did you narrate them? I feel like a jacklit deer, like, yeah, is that okay? And they love when I say yes, that it's me narrating them, because the author knows how the story is supposed to sound. The author knows how the characters are supposed to sound. So it's cool doing my own. I love it.
A lot of the authors now, some of the people I've interviewed have had like it was more of a book about their traumatic, like fucked up life. So for them, it was kind of like a healing thing, being the author, but also being the person that was reading it.
Yeah,
But I said to
makes
them,
sense that way.
yeah, and I said to them, because I always like to buy the books and listen to stuff that for people that were on the show, and I said to the one author, and I said to her, I'm like, listen, based on your story and all the things that you went through in your life, I mean, she just had some really crazy things happen. I'm like, I would not have wanted anyone else on the planet to read that. You had to read it because you could feel like when someone's reading something and they care about it. And I'm sure that's the same way for you, right? Like you care about the book, you created these characters. So there's just a certain level of ownership and almost like they're part of you. And I feel like there's something to that. So it's awesome that you do read your own stuff.
I'd be so remiss if I cast it and someone did a terrible job. I mean, you talk about 50 books. There's a lot to screw up in that. And here's something that'll probably throw some people for a loop. But I have many of my characters, my beloved characters from my Dissonance Alien Invasion saga. I have their fictional birthdays on my real life calendar, because the line between fiction and reality gets blurred. These people are real, or you desperately want them to be. So if I outsourced this book to someone and they did a bad job and didn't bring it to life, and I had to pay them and keep that, it'd be such a bummer, because they missed it, and you don't want them to miss it. I'm the only person who can hopefully nail it. Now, it isn't to say that if you're an author, by all means, narrate your own books. Because if you suck at speaking and you're like, huge lisp, or you slur everything, or you just talk like this the entire time and you're totally deadpan, you're not going to bring anything to life that way. You have to be dynamic and rise and fall and crescendos and decrescendos.
Yeah, and you got to have, like, if there's multiple characters, I feel like you got to have some sort of difference in them.
Distinction. Yeah.
And I really appreciate the really good audiobook readers that they just have a way with creating voices that make sense to the characters, and they stick with it, and they're good with it.
Yeah. Well, that's where I have a one up. I got a leg up on the competition, because I am a voice actor and I can do several of accents. I've been cast over and over for British. I've done Caribbean. I've done Deep South, Texas. I've done Australian, and I can do them well. And so often now I'm finding that I'm intentionally, this is so sneaky, but I'm intentionally writing in characters in my books in the writing process that have a Scottish accent. I can do that too. I want to write them into my books so that I'll get to voice that accent in the audiobook. It's totally like conniving and sneaky, but it's like, not everyone can do that. And that gives a lot of distinction between the voices.
Get you practice too, right? Like,
yeah,
you could say, hey, look, you need a Scottish guy. I'm your guy. Listen to this. Here's 2 minutes of me, being Scottish. It's my book too, if you want to buy it.
You'd have to say, I'm your guy.
I'm your gay. So I'm looking at your Dissonance series on Audible. Looks like you have, which one's this? Okay, so you have the entire book series together, that's cool. I like that. And then you have book 0 through 5. So you have is 0 like a prequel?
So there's actually 6 books. There's 4 that are basically the main story, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
And then there are 2 prequels. Volume 0 is the first prequel, and then Volume Up is the second prequel. and it's a silly story. I won't belabor that why I we had to write two different prequels. Um, but yeah, there's two prequels to the story. It was totally intended to just be a trilogy, but then it was such a great story, kept telling itself. It demanded the two prequels and a sequel. So it goes zero, up, one, two, three, four.
And then you have Relentless.
That's number four. That's
Gotcha.
volume four.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm definitely going. So, is this one here? It's the entire series together.
Yeah, all six books. It's 51 hours of material.
All right. Well,
So,
here you go.
and
Boom.
there's several different narrators.
Just bought the
So,
whole series,
eh,
baby. There you go.
oh, thank you so much.
Always like
You're
to
going to hear, I
support.
forgot. Thank you. Well, it's if you're driving or if you're doing a lot of work with around the home or remodeling or whatever, it's people say they love that length because it's 51 hours of content. So,
I drive about 2 hours a day. It's a hour there, hour
mm,
back. Might be faster sometimes. Sometimes could be longer. Depends on what I'm hitting. So, I really like hitting the audiobooks. I just I decided to go Stephen King because I haven't listened to a Stephen King book in my adult life. So I'm reading. Are you a Stephen King fan at all?
yeah, I love Misery. I'm actually trying to, if I can, base a little bit of my next novel on a kind of a misery twist,
Oh,
maybe.
okay, all right. I'm listening to
Yeah.
Fairy Tale right now because I thought it had a really cool premise that was very
Yeah.
Stephen Kingish.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, misery, misery is like, as an author, that terrifies me. So, I mean, like, why wouldn't I write about that? Because it's going to be close to home. It's going to hit close to home. So my fingers will fly more than they would on something with math in it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, so you're gonna laugh at me. The wifey's she grew up on horror movies, and I had never seen Misery, and we
Mm.
watched it together. Babe, when was that? Maybe 2 years ago. Yeah, maybe it was like 3 or 4 years ago. We watched Misery together, and it was such a good movie, really good.
Yeah. Great flick.
And but hey, I'll say this: she never saw Ace Ventura up until like 3 or 4 years ago either. So we kind of throw these
Gotta see
movies at
that.
each other. I'm like, and she likes silly stuff like that. I'm like, you've never seen Ace Ventura? Now, anytime it's on, we watch Ace Ventura. We've seen it like 100 times. It's a classic.
And Dumb and Dumber. I don't know if you like Dumb and Dumber as much, but that is, in my opinion, that and like Galaxy Quest are movies that just do not fail you in terms of comedy all the way through. They're just so good all the way through.
Well, that's the other thing. Dumb and Dumber is basically one of her all-time favorite movies, and she quotes it all the time. And I'm like, how have you never seen Ace Ventura? But Dumb and Dumber is like your all-time favorite
Well,
movie. You gotta watch
tell your wife, Samsonite. I was way off.
it. He said Samsonite. I was way off. She's laughing. But yeah, she quotes it all the time. It's fun. But so let me ask you this: while we're on the books, right? Do you get time to read some stuff yourself, or are you always like on the go writing your own stuff?
Both. I mean, like it's typically what I'll read is like when the kids are having bath night, and I'm just making sure they're okay up in the bedroom. But honestly, one of my books has been adapted for the screen. It's being pitched to streaming networks, and if they exercise an option to the right to option that script or to buy it, then quickly things are going to be in motion, and it's going to be on kind of like you're carried downstream with the current. And one of the things that my screenwriter slash marketer said is you have to know your story inside and out. So I am finishing up, big surprise, The Lord of the Rings. Again, I'm reading it again. As soon as I'm done with that, it's going to be right back into the whole saga of Dissonance all over again. Because if they option it or they buy it, they're going to start writing scripts for, the whole series. And I need to know it better than they do because they're going to go, "Hey, Aaron, how many gun towers are on the top of every blockade? I have to know that that's eight." you know, so just the little bitty things I need to know. So I do read, but right now it's the things that I've just read over and over again. And believe it or not, rehashing that, recycling those favorite reads, even though it's repetitive, it's still very energizing. It's still you still get fresh ideas and motivation for your newest work.
Yeah, one of my all-time favorite sci-fi series right now that I've gotten into is called Red Rising. Have you heard of it?
Yeah. Is it in a movie?
It's not a movie, but I know that they've pitched it, and I feel like I
That's where I saw it.
yeah, it's not done yet. The author is Pierce Brown.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I've totally seen the ads and the reels for it.
if it if I could tell you to read any book, if you have time, it's a right now. I think it's a 6 book series. I think they're done book 5. Book 6 is supposed to be out sometime this year, hopefully. One of
Okay.
the best series I've ever read in my life. It just
I've heard that. Good reviews too.
he just has a way with it's like Game of Thrones meets space, but I really like that Greek mythology, and they use a lot of that it's so good. I recommend it
Okay.
to everybody. So and I'm sure it's going to be a major. I know it's going to be a major motion picture. I don't know when. Because they've been talking
Yeah.
about it for a while, but such a good series, and it resonates really well because it's a cast. The way the book is set up is it's a cast. You basically are assigned a color, and golds are the best. Like they're 6-7 feet tall, blonde hair, blue eyes. They're perfect. They're athletes. You're not going to see anyone that's out of shape. They're like the perfect
Yeah.
human. And then everyone else has a color, and they're basically working for them, And the premise of the book is a red who's from Mars. He's a miner, was totally fine with his life, and you find this out basically in the first chapter. But they hang his
Yeah.
wife, and
Wow.
it basically turns him into someone that decides where he wants to bring down the hierarchy. And so he gets in a freedom group, and they want to turn him into a gold, and they want to bring it down
Mm.
from the inside. And there's like an institute where they once you are old enough, they put you in this institute, and it's basically cutthroat, and it's just so good, dude. It's so I could talk about it for hours. So
No, he's got super high ratings, so yeah, I'd definitely be interested. And I'd seen it, I think, before, but I wasn't in a reading frame of mind just yet.
yeah, listen, if you want to draw inspiration, I don't know. I'm gonna read your book, so I'll let you know my thoughts. But he's very there's some stuff in that book that'll mess you up a little bit. Like a beloved character might die, and then you're like, what the hell? And you have to go back. I'll like go back 5 minutes and re-listen to it, like just to kind of get it,
Right.
because that's the type of stuff that me as a reader, I like, where if someone dies or something crazy happens, and I have to go back 5 minutes to put myself into like the zone, I guess.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
those are the type of books it really draws me in, and then I have to keep listening.
Yeah, I've definitely killed off my share. I'm more murderer than author, and I hate that. But it's like it can never be cavalier. It can never be a throwaway. Especially if it's a beloved character. It always has to be a catalyst for something. And so I learned that very early on. It completely disassembled me, and you'll hear it when when I killed off a character in Volume One Reality. That's me bawling. That's me bawling during the edit. That's me bawling during the audiobook recording. So you'll hear that.
Yeah, you got to get attached to these guys, man. You're basically killing off a part of yourself, right?
Yeah, it's your baby. You created it.
Now, one of the Dissonance books was, that's what you kind of brought up. You know, did they pursue you? Or walk me through kind of what happened there, because I know the streaming platforms are always looking for something new. That's got to be pretty exciting for you, man.
So much. I'm tickled. I just I can't wait to see what'll happen with this because it is every indie author's dream to have their book adapted for the screen and to see it on screen. That's the goal. The goal of course, let me clarify, isn't actually to see it on screen, but to hit the highest amount of readers and people who will enjoy your books possible. So they pursued me, and as an author, I enjoy the rich, exquisite privilege of receiving 30 to 40 spam emails every single day. It's so
Yeah.
frustrating because what you wouldn't give to receive one email a week, 1 week, saying I love your stuff, I loved your book. No, we don't get those. It's all crickets, and the only thing we get is people who just want to steal our money. It's so frustrating. So I get this email from this guy or from his assistant in March of 2024, and I'm like, naturally a skeptic, but I vetted him, and he is who he says he is. He's a Hollywood accredited fellow. He's on IMDb. His stuff was award winning screenplay that won a contest. Get this, put on by Gail Ann Hurd, who is the ex-wife of James Cameron. I know who's that.
That's awesome.
Gail Ann puts me 3 degrees away from
Yeah.
James Cameron. I'm like, ah. So I checked him out. I vetted him, and I said, I'm going to be so sad if I don't do this. I have to do this. So I did. He's very collaborative. It's true to the book, and it's the pilot from Volume One Reality. And he's pitched it to, I don't know, 15 to 20 different studios, and no one has said no yet, except for one, I believe, only because they were reorganizing. Uh, Whether it was like the Skydance and
Paramount.
Netflix and Paramount and Warner
Yeah.
Brothers and that whole business. Yeah, but it's the dust has settled, and now they're looking at it again. So I'm so excited and so hopeful.
That's awesome, man. Listen, let's ask you for a tip here, because I do have a lot of young people that do listen to the show. For an indie author listening to this podcast, can you bestow some knowledge on them? Maybe a realistic path, like, what are some of the things that people get wrong when they're trying to do something like this?
Oh my gosh, there's so much. So the first thing,
You're
there's
like,
so much
you're
I
like,
would
I've
say.
failed so many times, but let me tell you, this is the way to
Yeah,
go about it, right?
this is the way. Um, all you do is you just continue failing forward. I mean, really, that's the story. But I'm an indie author by choice. There's so many trade-offs that you have to make when you sign with a self-pubbed or self-published or indie publisher. Excuse me, I'm so saying this backwards. There's so many trade-offs that you make when you sign with a traditional publisher. As an indie publisher, man, I get much quicker time to market. I can command higher royalties. I get to retain all rights. I get to retain all creative control. I get to choose my own branding, my own
which
editors, my
which
own
is
marketing team.
so big being able to have the creative control. So big.
It's huge. To surrender that I mean, for me, I'm very impatient. I want to get my books out there to market. 51 I'm working on right now. If I was traditionally published, maybe less than half of those would be out by now. So maybe, I mean, probably maybe less than a third. I don't even know. Um, the most important thing, though, is you have to decide is if you are going to pursue traditional or self-publishing, if you're going to pursue using AI to help support, your creative process, because it's an incendiary, polarizing topic. I use very occasionally I'll use assistive AI for idea generation for a book only. I do not believe in using generative AI to create any part of my book. I'll get ideas and then I'll go, all right, cool, and then I'll start writing my book, and it's entirely from here and here entirely.
Yeah.
Um, the industry's really saturated, and the offerings are really diluted now by AI content. It's just watered down the quality of the offerings. So choose wisely there. And Oscar Wilde said, "Everyone, be yourself. Everyone else is already taken." Man, don't try to be the next Tolkien, Clancy, Crichton, Grisham, Collins, S.A. Corey. Just be you. Everyone else is already taken. Find your own unique style, your own unique voice that you can bring to the market, because they don't need more of the same. Be you.
Yeah, I think that's so important in today's world. It's the same reason. I've been doing this podcast now for like 3.5 years. Actually, yeah, we're pushing 4. Actually, August, I think it'll be 4. Wow, the time just is like I don't even remember where I am anymore half
Yes.
the time. But I tell people my first like 3 years, it was, I had people that would download, but it was like, I'm a numbers guy. And I'm an entrepreneur, so I haven't earned a cent doing this. It's just, I enjoy it. But
Yeah.
the first 3 years, sometimes it gets very deflating. There'd be sometimes where I would have such a good guest and I'm like, this is going to be great. And I'd get 2 people that listen, and I'm like, fuck, man, like, what more do I need to do? And it's funny. I was telling the wifey this before we got on, probably a day or 2 ago. I've had more people listen to my podcast this year, just 2026, than all 3 years combined. So it's
Wow.
yeah, I'd imagine as a creative, as someone that's writing, it's the same concept, right? It's like, don't give up. Like, just keep doing it. If
Right.
you enjoy it and you can afford to do it, just continue to do it, because you never know who's going to listen and then tell their friend, or who's going to read your book and tell their friend. And then before you know it, it might be getting picked up by streaming platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love this phrase, and I quote it all the time. I probably overquote it, but I was given a phrase by a former casting agent slash entrepreneur, and she said, "Someone's endorsement of you or lack thereof has very little to do with your trajectory." I love that phrase because, as authors, we want people to buy our books. We want good reviews. We want to be asked to speak. We want to be asked to share. We want to be invited places. We want our books to be, we want to hear from people that say they like books, whether or not it's comes in a review that they post. And those aren't necessarily going to come quickly, if at all. So, and those are endorsements. Your trajectory, if you're an author and this is what you want to do, it's your trajectory is to continue writing books regardless of the little backpats and ego strokes that you might get along the way. If your trajectory is, or if your calling is to be an author, your trajectory is forward, independent of all of that. It really is.
And I think that's with everything, right? I mean, you're going to do certain things and it might not work out, but if you just stick with it, or, sometimes you might need to pivot a little bit, right? When I first started doing this podcast, it was just to interview video game streamers, because that's what I was doing at the time. And I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, how many people am I going to be able to get to do this regularly? And I'm like, let's just change the format a little bit. It's the same concept, just a little bit. And I think sometimes you got to do that along the way. Now, you mentioned AI,
Yeah.
and that's something I definitely wanted to talk about before we got out today. And I'm a proponent of AI. I love AI. I'm a tech guy. I use it in a lot of the things that I do. It does help, but you got to run into it to the point where it's got to be nauseating, from not just, people using it to create books, but also in your voiceover work.
It's dramatically negatively impacted both careers in a massive degree. I can't even begin to articulate in the amount of time that we have today. So as a voiceover actor, that's where I first started to experience the negative effects of AI. Beloved, cherished relationships that I've had forever with producers are gone. The producers have either been replaced by AI themselves. We don't need you anymore. We can seriously just do this through Cdance, or they've been instructed to no longer use human voice talent because they can use 11 Labs or Respeech or Speech Ocean or whatever. And they're all crappy software. They're not directable. It doesn't have the human nuance, the human idiosyncrasy. It is purely about dollars
Yeah.
and, getting it done quickly. So rather than pay a human voice talent $3,300, whatever, for a national TV commercial for a year, which is the market rate, we can buy Speech Ocean for $49 for a lifetime license, and then plug in whatever we want. So it makes good fiscal sense, sure. But largely the amount of time that you're going to spend, the amount of money you're going to save is going to be offset by the huge amount of time you're going to have to spend to calibrate that voice, to train that voice, to tweak every little thing to get it to your liking, only to have to circle back and go, you know what, screw this. Let's just hire a human voice talent again. And then in authoring, I already addressed that. the quality of offerings in the authoring industry are being watered down and diluted by AI slop and crap.
Yeah, I look. AI is great, I think, at assisting us, and I like what you said because it's the same concept for me. It's like if I have an idea, I'll use AI to flush it out, right? Or maybe I
Yeah.
kind of know what I want, but I don't know what that is, and I'll just say, hey, hit me with 20 things, and then once I get that, oh, then I can kind of go with the flow with it. Um,
Yeah.
if you're using it to do everything creatively, it is slop, and you're going to get a lot. And I think we're at a point where it's like, oh my god, and the companies are saving money and they're pumping stuff out at speed. I think you'll have a pushback at some point where it's like, okay, AI can only do so much. Now, who knows? Maybe we'll have AI chatbots that you could never tell that they're, not human, in five
Right.
to 10 years. But I still think from a human perspective, you just have, like, there's something, I don't even know how to put it in words. There's just something about the feels that you could almost tell, like that
Yeah.
person
Oh,
is, using
so
AI
yeah.
and doesn't give a shit.
Right. Yeah, it's very frustrating. I mean, ultimately, you can't. As a voice actor, I can hear the difference. I can tell when it's a synthetic voice.
Yeah.
A lot of people are untrained in that way, but I'm dealing with audio all day long, so I know full well what is supposed to sound human and what doesn't. And so, but a lot of people aren't equipped in that regard, or they don't really care. There's a nonchalance about it, and it's not something that you can train people on. But there's also just the ethics of it, and you've got cases, clear cut and dry cases of, like, Scarlett Johansson was in the movie Her, and they took her voice and they made an AI, an LLM model, and an AI voice of Scarlett Johansson's voice. She's rightfully suing those people. Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise in that Sea Dance rooftop fight,
Oh
their
yeah.
likenesses were used. Neither one of them were in that. Neither one of them consented to that. I have to wonder what Ian Holm, who played Ash in the original Alien, the android, he's now Rook, which is a look-alike android in Romulus,
Yep.
and it's his likeness. It's very cringeworthy. His estate gave them permission to do that, but I have to wonder, what would Ian Holmes say? Did he stipulate something in his will? It's just it's so ick, and why can't you just come up with something new? And that was another cringeworthy callback. James Earl
Yeah.
Jones licensed his voice post mortem to you probably know this. His he sold the rights to his voice posthumously. Well, he did it before he died, but posthumously, now they can use James Earl Jones's voice in any future Darth Vader spinoff stuff because he gave that consent.
Yep.
And so that I'm okay with. But gosh, the consent thing is a huge issue.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that Brad Pitt, like, fighting video and stuff was wild. It's like
Yeah.
absolutely wild. But yeah, I mean, like, where do you draw the line, right? Where is that
Right.
line in the sand where, yeah, you can be creative, but is it really creative just typing two sentences in an AI? I don't think so. I don't think that's being
No.
creative. But this is the world we live in, right? So it's like, where do you see, the voiceover? Well, let's talk the voiceover. Where do you see that going in the future? Do you think eventually it's going to get to a point where it's just going to kind of go away? Or do you think it's going to have some pushback with people?
I think honestly, my gut tells me it'll go away. I mean, people have said over and over that it won't go away, and you've got people who are, the top recognized figureheads in the voiceover industry at the top of a very narrow kind of what I like to call an Illuminati, who could they control all the speaking circuits and they control all the not all of them, but they control a wide variety of people who are recognized and endorsed and promoted to share and speak and teach and give. I wanted to be part of that. I was an outsider looking in. I was a fifth wheel, an anomaly, and they wouldn't let me in. I kind of got mad after a while, spoke truth to power, and left. But I'm so glad because it resulted in a bounty of creativity. But those people at the very top are saying, "Oh, don't worry about AI. Yes, worry about AI. Uh, Siri is getting better and better. I can't say her name because she's right there, but Alexa is getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
And Bixby and all of these other iterations of Google Voice and all that stuff are getting so better. Now you've got visuals. What I love is somebody like Sean Astin, who played Samwise Gamgee in Lord of the Rings. He is the president of the SAG-AFTRA union, and he and the union are fighting hard to maintain rights so that our likeness cannot be taken without our consent.
Yeah, because these big studios do not give a shit. They're going to do
They don't.
everything they can to save money. Because at the end of the day, what's the general saying? It's you have to, in order to break even, you have to gross double the amount of what you spent, right?
Yeah, whatever it is.
Whatever
Yeah, something like
that
that.
is.
But imagine they give a prompt to Chat GPT or Grok or whatever, and then within a few hours they've got a full movie and they just run with it. Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah, and I mean, look, from a CEO slash owner perspective, that makes sense, right? But I think those people are out of touch with a lot of the stuff from down here.
Yeah.
And I think at some point, and I'm a tech guy, I think AI it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere, but I think at some point there'll be kind of a reckoning. Now, the voice actor stuff, I don't know, man. It's getting better and better. AI, unfortunately, is just learning at such a rapid pace.
Yeah.
There's got to be
It's not
something, I think.
Skynet.
Yeah, there's got to be something done, I think, from the union's perspective to continue to fight for you guys, because that's about all you can do.
That's what I think Sean Astin is doing, precisely that.
Yeah.
I went to, in February, I went to a fan expo in Portland and saw all four Hobbits, got a picture with them, got a very commemorative Lord of the Rings edition, a keepsake edition that I had produced, signed by all four of them.
That's awesome.
And I talked to Sean very briefly just at a signature session and said, I said, hey, I'm a SAG-AFTRA registered voice talent, and thank you for all you're doing. And he goes, great, hey, that's wonderful. How's it going? And I said, AI. He said, I know, we're working hard. And I watch his videos, and they are. I think we're one of the first chips to fall because it takes so much more processing to develop believable, convincing video material. Audio, though, was streamlined, long before they started working on voice stuff,
Yeah.
or video stuff rather. But like I said, it's not Skynet yet. But yes, we have people fighting for us. But it's just that yes, there does need to be a reckoning. Yes, there needs to be legislation on this Wild West, unregulated um, phenomenon that is growing exponentially. It's crazy.
I couldn't agree more. And I would, there's a couple industries for sure that I'm happy that I didn't pursue, in the tech world, and that is coding. And,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of other things that are going to lose a battle. So, and you know what, shout out to, Rip Tom Kane. I know we're talking about voice acting, and he was the voice of the Powderpuff Girls doctor and dad, and he was like a voice actor, and he did a ton of stuff. And I a lot of characters that were part of that Cartoon Network series when I was a kid. So I wanted to make sure I made a shout out to Tom Kane.
That's awesome.
Yeah, listen, man, we're hitting that hour mark, but I want you to kind of hit us with your plug. Tell us what you got going on. Do you have anything coming up in the near future we can make sure we're paying attention to? Really exciting about the stuff for your book, man. I really hope that comes to fruition for you.
Yeah, thank you. Me too. Well, that one is going the producer route. I've got four other books adapted for the screen, and they're going the film festival route.
Nice.
A few of them have been, they've won entrance into film festivals. They've garnered awards, which is wonderful. So that's good. I'm working on book 51, which is another horror paranormal novel. It's called The Darkness Within, and I'm going for a modern day take on Jekyll and Hyde meets Misery, of all things.
That's cool.
So that's what I'm working on. But people can go to authoraaronryan.com and find out about everything. It's got all the social links. It's got all the links to the subsites for the different series. And then they can also go to authoraaronryangroup.com, which is a Facebook group where they can join There's no scammers or spammers allowed. If you're an author, you're going to find tips. There's discount codes, giveaways, upcoming appearances and releases, news. And that's authoraaronryan.group.com. So there you go.
Awesome, man. Yeah, you had a great website. I was on there and doing my research on what I could. So, and hey, look, buy this guy's book, man. You could get the entire Dissonance series on Audible. I'm a member of Audible, and so I used a credit, but it was only like $15, man. You can get 51 hours of content for $15. What do you do with your life, man?
I know.
I'm going to be hearing your voice for the next 2 months as I'm driving. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, this is the Drink O'Clock podcast. You can listen to this podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. And on top of that, you can find me on social media, Drink O'Clock Pod as well. So look, Aaron, it was a pleasure having you on, man. Thank you so much. You're a busy guy. And let's do this again after Dissonance gets on the big screen, man.
Will do. Thanks so much for having me, Rob.
Awesome, man. Have a great night.
You too.
On a stormy night where legends unfold, there's a podcast that's breaking the mold. Raise your voices, raise your glass high. Welcome to the Drink O'Clock podcast. Let's fly. Oh, grab an old fashioned and join the fray. Raise your spirits, let the music play. From the corner pub to the dance hall floor. Drink O'Clock podcast, we're ready for more. We're ready for more. With a mix of folklore and rebel cheer here, we'll guide you through tales of whiskey and beer. From Irish shores to lands afar, grab your friends, it's time to raise